Michelle, and I am here with my kinda late August wrap-up. I ended up reading a lot this month, even though I did not have much time to read. I guess when I did have time, I read a lot. But yeah, I read 12 books, or 19 books if you count graphic novels. I don't really know how to count graphic novels. The thing is, I want to kind of count them, but I don't want to count like the pages, because it's like if a graphic novel is 200 pages, you still read it in like 45 minutes. So it just feels wrong to count the pages. But anyways, I read 7 graphic novels and 12 actual books. The first book that I read was Lioness Rampant by Tamora Pierce, the 4th book in the Song of the Lioness Quartet. And I finished this at like 1 in the morning of August the 1st. So yeah, and it was good. It was a good conclusion to the series, and I ended up giving it 5 stars. Although I'm thinking about maybe kind of downrating it to 4.5 because, I don't know, the final battle was, the final confrontation between Alana and her arch nemesis was kind of like, yeah, me. It could have been better, but it's this such a good series, guys. You should read it. I mean, like, it's fantasy and it's a super fast read and it's like female character, main character who is good, and it's like, yay, sex positivity in books that are for younger ages than like 25, and that's not really that normal, so that's good, because it's not common. I shouldn't have said not normal. Not common was what I meant. Anyway, read these books because they are so good. Oh my god. So then we go on for more sequels, and I read Pandemonium by Lauren Oliver. This is the 2nd book in the Delirium trilogy. I read Delirium back in June, if I don't remember incorrectly. And this book I ended up giving 3.5 stars, I think, or 4 stars. I'm pretty sure I gave it 3.5. Mostly because we have half of the chapters are called the Then chapters, and they take place directly after where the first book concluded. And then we have the Now chapters that take place like half a year later. And the thing is, I would have liked it if we would have had all of the Then segments first, and then the second half of the book could be the Now segments. But the thing is, they changed it up, so every other chapter is either Then or Now. And the thing is, it kind of took away some of the excitement, because it's like we have a Then chapter where it's like, oh gosh, this person might be dead, and you're like, I know that he's not dead because he was there in the Now chapters. No, I think it was a bad author choice, but yeah, I like this book in other ways and stuff. Then after that, I realized that I made this summer reading plans video back at the beginning of summer, and I have not been following it very well, and I decided that I probably should. So I read 1984 by George Orwell in this grey edition, which I guess is grey for a reason, but I mean, it's still boring, and I want the pretty version with like the eye and the red colors and stuff. But yeah, 1984. I started reading this before I went out of the country, and I only read like 100 pages or so, and I was not that big of a fan. I mean, I liked it and stuff, but it was just, my reading was very slow for the first 100 pages of this book. Then when I came back and read the rest, yeah, it was just much faster. I got a lot more drawn in general, and it got better, so I think I ended up giving it 4 stars, because I liked it, and it was depressing, but the thing is, I knew from the beginning that it would be depressing and stuff. But I mean, depressing books can still be good books. After reading that, I decided that I should take one more book from my summer reading plans, and that is Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. And this book is super short, so that's kind of why I decided to pick it up. And I ended up liking it. I think I gave this 4 stars as well. I'm not sure. I think I did. Mostly because I really liked the story and the little observations and stuff. But I was not a big fan of the main character. He was kind of annoying at times. And I'm thinking that he was kind of supposed to be annoying. And my mom is vacuuming in the background. If you can hear that noise, then you know that that's it. Even though I'm going to vacuum tomorrow, I don't know why she's vacuuming now, but I guess we'll have a super clean house. Or something. So yeah, as I said, 4 stars to this book for a little fascinating story. It's basically about a teenager called Holden Caulfield, if I don't remember incorrectly. Yeah, he got kicked out of school. So he kind of goes around in New York for a weekend, not wanting to go home and tell his parents. And it's about the people that he meets and talks to and stuff. It's also a little bit about, you know, youth and letting go of youth and becoming an adult and things. The 5th book that I read this month was The Sacred Diary of Adrian Plass, aged 37 3/4, and that is a long title. It does not have such a long title in Swedish. This was a really funny book. It's basically about this middle-aged guy in Britain who is Christian and he wants to be a good Christian, and he discovers that being the archetype of a good Christian is kind of hard in this society. It was a lot of fun, this book. It really was. I mean, the main character is pretty much the human version of a bumblebee. If bumblebees had been people, they would have been Adrian Plass. That's just a thing. I think that if you've read this book, you'll probably know what it feels like. But yeah, I'm a Christian as well, so I mean, this book was a lot of fun. Yeah, it really was. But I don't think you'd have to be Christian to like this book. I don't really do, but I mean, yeah, it was a lot of fun. I ended up giving it 4 stars, mostly because I would have liked it to be longer. It was really short. Then again, I know that there are like sequels to this book, so if I can get a hold of them, I probably will read them because, let's be real, they were a lot of fun and like lighthearted reads and stuff, and sometimes you need that. The next book that I read, I do not have with me because I borrowed it out to a friend the same day that I bought it. I bought this little book called The Tiny Wife by Andrew Kaufman. If I don't remember incorrectly, that's his name. And it is a 100-page novel, so it was super short. It was a very weird book, to be honest. It's basically about these 12 people, I think, that were in a bank, and there came a bank robber, but he did not want to rob the bank of money. He decided that he wanted the object of most affection for the people in the bank. Sorry, I'm not a native English speaker. That was probably there was probably lots of things wrong with those sentences. But anyway, so he takes these things, and then he's like, okay, now I've got like 50% of your soul, and you will die if you don't figure out how to get it back. And then weird ass things start happening. Like, for example, we have the title character, the tiny wife. She shrinks a little bit every night, and becomes smaller and smaller, and smaller and smaller, and you know, she becomes super small and things. And we have another woman whose husband gets turned into a snowman. I don't know why he got turned into a snowman and not her, but yeah, you know what, that just happened. And, things. There was a woman who got turned into candy, and her husband ate her. It was a weird book, but I liked it. Then after that, I got onto reading Requiem, the 3rd book in the Delirium trilogy. And it took me some time to get onto this after Pandemonium, mostly because the ending of Pandemonium kind of indicated that there would be a lot of angst a lot of love triangle angst, and I don't like love triangle angst at all. But surprisingly enough, there weren't a lot of love triangle angst in this book at all. Like The Hunger Games beats this a lot. Like, yeah, I was pleasantly surprised that they were actually, like, focusing on the important things, like the rebellion. So that's good. I ended up giving it this 4 out of 5 stars. I really liked it. But the ending was kind of vague, and everyone who's read this book knows that the ending was kind of vague, and it should have been a little bit longer. I have some other thoughts on this book as well, but I mean, they are all pretty spoilery, so I'm not gonna say anything. You're just gonna have to ask me if you want to know. Then I read The White Cat by Holly Black. That is the first book in the Curse Workers trilogy. And it was really good. I ended up giving it 5 stars. This is like a paranormal thriller about a world where there are so-called curse workers. And if they touch you with their bare skin, they basically can, like, do magic to you. There are different kinds of curse workers. There are death workers. Is that what they're called in English? I read these books in Swedish, so I'm just kind of translating off the top of my head. But, for example, if they touch you, you die. And then there are people who are, oh god, what's that supposed to be? Feeling workers? Or something? And they can, they can manipulate your feelings by touching you and stuff. And curse working is illegal. So pretty much all curse workers work either for the FBI, in like special troops and shit, or in the mafia. And the main character, Castle, is the only non-curse worker in a family full of curse workers. And they are pretty much all criminals and stuff. And there is a mystery, but I don't really want to talk much about the mystery because I will spoil some parts of it and that would be bad. But this book is really good. Like, props to Holly Black. Also, props to Holly Black for intersectionality. There were a lot of characters of, like, non-white races in this book, and that's good. Immediately after that, I read the second book in the series that's called Red Glove. I liked this as well. I think I gave it 5 stars as well. I can't talk about this book because spoilers, but it was good. I liked it. I thought it was on par with the first book. I think there have been some mixed views on that, but for me, I liked it. Then along came the CatchUpReadathon. That was the last week in August. And the thing was basically that you were supposed to read books that had been on your shelf for a long time. So the first book I read was for the challenge of the book that you have had for the longest on your shelf. And that for me was Marley and Me by John Grogan, which my grandmother gave me when I was 12. So this book is basically a memoir. And it's about this dude, John Grogan, who got a dog together with his wife to like practice for having a child in the future. And they decided to get this Labrador Retriever because it was like, yeah, I mean, these dogs are supposed to be super family friendly and stuff. But they accidentally picked like the most energy-filled dog ever. And it's about their lives and their misadventures. And this book spans over, I think, 13 years. Like the entirety of the dog's life. And so it's also about, the author and his family and how they evolved through the years and stuff. But this was a lot of fun. It was funny, it was heartwarming, it was what it wanted to be, really. And I ended up giving it 4 stars. The second challenge was to read a book that you had been given. And for me, that was Ren, The Forgotten Rooms by Lotta Olivekrona. The first part in a middle grade sci-fi trilogy. Yeah, and it's in Swedish and it has not been released in English. And I've talked about this before, but I just gotta say it again. So I ended up giving this book 5 stars. I was pleasantly surprised because it was really good. No, wait, I didn't give it 5 stars. maybe I gave it 4.5 or 4. The thing is, I like story-wise, I think that this is pretty much a 5-star book. But the thing is, with middle grade novels, there are those who are more or less middle grady in language. And this was very middle grady, so I mean, I was kind of aware of it throughout the whole book. And I guess that kind of drew it down. As well as, you know, characters going along with things way too easily, because angst is just not a thing that is good in middle grade books. The last book that I finished in August was Matched by Ali Conte. This is the first part in a YA dystopian trilogy. And this was for the challenge of reading a book that you had picked up earlier but then put down again for no real reason, you just kind of did. And when I picked it up the first time, I ended up putting it down mostly because it was kind of slow and I just felt like reading more fast-paced books. But now that I read it again, I really liked it, and I really liked the slow pace and the tiny little details and just how the main character slowly becomes aware of beauty in words and in free choice and just the things that do not exist in the society that she lives in, although this is probably the society that I would like choose if I had to pick a dystopian society to live in. This would definitely be the one out of the ones I have read about. But yeah, you know, it's still very much not a perfect society. Yeah. So 5 out of 5 stars for this book, and I want to read the next ones soon. I really hope I will. So we go on to the graphic novels, where first I read Amulet number 1 through 5 by Katsukibuishi? No? Katsukibuishi? I can't remember his name. It's one of those two things, I think. But yeah, there are 5 volumes out. And the thing is, I've seen volumes 1 and 2 going around BookTube. But the thing is, I just kind of went to my library and was checking around, and then it was like, oh look, there's Amulet, and like, look, there are 5 volumes of it, let's pick them up, and I returned them by now, so I can show them to you. But there were 5 volumes, and it is fantasy, children's fantasy, and yeah, I liked it. It was cute, it was nice. Also, the art was something that I had a little bit of a problem with, because it's basically Ghibli mixed with, oh god, what's it called in English? Carlton and Hobbes? I don't know if that's what it's called in English. I'm gonna write it down here, just so you can know what it's actually called, because I don't remember. But yeah, I would have liked it more if it had been like actual things that actually look like Ghibli art, because Ghibli art is freaking beautiful. But there were some full-page spreads that were just wonderful to look at. Like, the backgrounds were lovely. It's just basically the character designs that were a little off to me. And also that freaking rabbit. I hate that rabbit so much. Why is he in this book? No, I don't like him. The other 2 graphic novels that I read this month was Boxers and Saints by Zhenluen Yang. And the first book is Boxers, as I said, and the second is Saints. Look, they go together prettily and stuff. These books are about the Boxer Rebellion that took place in China in 1901, and it was pretty much a movement where some people rebelled very violently against Western missionaries and Christians and Chinese people who converted to Christianity, and a lot of people died. So these books, they each show one side of the conflict. The first book is about the Boxers, and the second book is about the Christians, or, well, rather the Chinese Christians. And the goal of this book isn't really to point out one side as wrong and one side as right, but rather just to you know, show the problems of morals and things. And yeah, I like the second book better than the first one, mostly because I like the main character in the second book more than the first, but they were really good and I want to buy them, and they are super expensive. Oh, these are from the library and stuff, but I want to buy them. They were so good, but I probably never will because they are so expensive. I feel sad for myself. So those were all the books that I ended up reading in August. Feel free to leave a comment about what you read, or if you've read any of these books and stuff. And I will hopefully see you soon. I mean, my flow of videos hasn't been very, like, yeah, it hasn't been very consistent at all. But I will try and better myself and stuff. So I will see you at another time. Bye!